Hey, Flyers fans! You guys are the best. You guys are the best. How are you all? How's everything going? Everyone's back from Turkey Day. Happy Thanksgiving to all those, and I hope everyone had a blessed Thanksgiving as we did. Flyers fans, I just want to say how great you are, and thank you very much for all that you've done for my career for the past, 11 years now? Jeez. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. You all are amazing people. Nonetheless, I want to start off with some breaking news. Oliver Bonk will play tonight. I don't see anyone saying that, but I will. Oliver Bonk will be making his professional debut. I hinted at that yesterday. If you follow me on Twitter at Jamie Bascow, I did hint at that yesterday that he wouldn't play last night and that the Phantoms were probably more or less shooting for today. And it is true. He is playing tonight. He will be making his professional debut. Now on to the big team. I want to touch on Matvei Michkov. I think that has to be touched on. He had some really good comments, from practice, from Flyers practice from Thursday. He came out. He had an interview afterwards with the media, and he expressed his desire to stay in town for the Olympic break. Usually players who don't play in the Olympics during that time, usually they make vacations, schedule vacations with their families or friends for that matter. Remember 4 years ago, saw a lot of Flyers stuff. Travis Sanheim eating chicken wings and stuff like that in a pool where he was swimming and during the Olympic break. And people were just like eating pizza and stuff, for those just stuff that they wouldn't ordinarily eat, if it was, game time or that, they were actually playing during the season, give them a few days to recover from that. Nonetheless, Michkov is going to be in town. He wants to get better, and he wants to recharge for the rest of the season that lies ahead after the Olympic break, post-Olympic break. I also wanted to touch on Michkov again in a sense to where he says that his desire is to stay in town, in the summer to train in Voorhees. He wants to be around the staff and stuff. He said he was going to go home back to Russia for brief time, probably like Cam York did a few years ago. Cam York primarily he goes home after the hockey season for about a month and a half, and then he comes back in June. The first week in June is when Cam York came back 2 years ago when he was training. That's pretty much probably what Michkov is going to do, depending on how deep the Flyers go in the playoffs, if they even make the playoffs. If they make the playoffs, then I can see Michkov going back for a month and coming back the first week of June, like Cam York, if they have a first round exit. If they don't make the playoffs, I can still see him coming back in June. He would be, the season would end in mid-April. So, yeah, so that's great that he wants to stay in town. He realizes, what a mistake it was, going home for an extended stay this past off season, going to Dubai and having fun. He doesn't want to do that anymore. And that's great to hear that he wants to try to improve. And now my final topic that I want to talk about, because I'm already overloading you guys with information. First off, the Flyers sit in fourth place in the Metropolitan Division. The Pittsburgh Penguins had the tiebreaker, even though they had the same amount of points as the Flyers, with 33 at the moment. But the Flyers are really playing some good hockey, and that's great to see, right? In Philadelphia, I haven't seen that in a long time. We're getting excellent goaltending from Dan Vladar. This team would be far worse than they would be if they didn't have Dan Vladar. They could probably be the last place team in the Metro if it wasn't for Vladar. At times, it takes the Flyers, a period and a half to 2 periods to get going, and finally they get going in the third. If they continue on that trajectory, it's going to be a bubble playoff team like we've seen for the past few years. So I wanted to talk about the Owen Tippett trade rumors that have been circling around. If you've been following this podcast, I have said that the Flyers will obtain Quinn Hughes at the trade deadline, and yes, they will obtain Quinn Hughes at the trade deadline. I firmly believe with the Tocchet Hughes connection that Hughes will be a Flyer by the trade deadline. And I say that Vancouver doesn't have to move him. They have him under control, obviously, and stuff. And the Flyers wouldn't be able to initiate a contract until July 1st of 2026. But they can have a verbal agreement on such where they could not necessarily put pen to paper because that would be illegal, but they can have an agreement, a verbal agreement with his agent and Hughes for an extension if the Flyers indeed did trade for him. I think that they would want reassurance that he would sign in Philly. Hughes is a big fan of Rick Tocchet. Him and Tocchet really got along very well. Owen Tippett, I've said in previous podcasts, and I'll say it again because Elliot Friedman has been saying stuff, and the Flyers are trying to calm the storm in terms of the Tippett trade rumors. That's fine. The reason that I suggest that it would be Owen Tippett out, first off, the Flyers are loaded on the wing. They have to make room for Porter Martone, so it would have to be one of Travis Konecny or Owen Tippett and possibly Bobby Brink. But I can't see Brink being part of a deal to bring Quinn Hughes here. But I can see Tippett. And the reason I say Tippett is because of his ceiling. Teams are viewing Tippett as a top 6 player who can pot 35 to 40 goals. He has all the tools to be consistent to pot 35 to 40. Now, he just hasn't hit the darn net. You know, Jeff Carter used to miss the net. Flyers fans used to bark at that. However, Carter used to pot 35 to 40 goals consistently. Actually, he was the last Flyer to score 40 or more goals, and that happened in the 2008-09 season. That's how long it's been since the Flyers had a 40-goal scorer. You know, and they finally have a possibility with Owen Tippett. The problem is that he misses the net too much. Now, he has picked up his play here as of late. He is hitting the net here as of late. But that is why teams would covet a player like Tippett. Now, of course, now the Flyers have to give more, like a Jet Luchenko probably. I would say Porter Martone's untouchable. I don't think they want to move Jet Luchenko. Maybe they could, finagle some things there. There's plenty of time to hash this out. Obviously, the Vancouver Canucks have contacted the Flyers, over Owen Tippett's services. Doesn't mean that a move is imminent. It doesn't mean that he's about to be traded. No, trades take time. We've seen that with Trevor Zegras. The Flyers were interested 2 years ago. Anaheim balked at a deal. They didn't want to move, and they stayed in touch since. And I think Cutter Gauthier is one main reason why it was a cheap price to get Trevor Zegras here. And I say cheap price. Ryan Poling's playing excellent hockey for the Anaheim Ducks, but the Flyers didn't have to move much, than Poling, to obtain, Trevor Zegras. So with that being said, I think that Owen Tippett is a player that a lot of teams would covet because a lot of teams are struggling for the 35, 40 goal scorers, especially a team like the Vancouver Canucks. They want an immediate NHL-ready player. Tippett is an immediate NHL-ready player, plus who could pot 35 to 40. Now, I'd say they probably have to part ways with Oliver Bonk, who's the top-rated, Flyers defenseman in their system. He's a right-handed shot, has size. He's proven that he can handle pressure. Look, he played for a pressure team in the London Knights and fared very well. He is the son of Radek Bonk, who was an excellent player for the Ottawa Senators and some other teams as well. He was an excellent hockey player, and so hockey's in his pedigree. And Oliver Bonk would be part of the deal as well. Of course, you could throw a first in, and like I said, if the Flyers added Jet Luchenko, they would get him today. But yes, I do believe that Quinn Hughes will be a Flyer. I do believe in these trade rumors, not just because it's Elliot Friedman. I just believe in them because I can see teams inquiring about his services. Teams, like I said, are in dire need of a 35, even a 30 goal scorer, in today's, hockey age. There aren't many 30 goal scorers in the league, and Tippett could be one of them if he hit the darn net. So, yeah, I can see Quinn Hughes being a Flyer, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. And that's all I got for right now, Flyers fans. They face the best team in the league, the Colorado Avalanche, tomorrow. Let's hope for good days. And in all, thanks, Flyers fans. Take care. Hasta luego.